Yeah, my one of my books that I got, I can grab. It's politics is oh, politics is for power. Is that
Yeah.
backwards? Um, how to move beyond political hobbyism, take action, and make real change. Um, which is a book that I'm going to start reading, which I'm super excited about. Because that's something that I'm personally super passionate about. Like I really want to get beyond this stage of my life where I just sit in my room, get my news from articles that I see on Twitter and Destiny and shit, you know. So I really want to move beyond that, and I want to do some really good things. So I'm super excited to get into that. I've been I've been toying even more with the idea of running for office one day, um,
That would be a good thing.
which which would be super interesting. Yeah, can you imagine having blue Alabama?
Wow, that would be
you know,
crazy.
yeah, that would be fucking crazy. It's a little bit pie in the sky, dreamy right now, but I think it'd be a super cool thing to try. I don't know how many races I'd win, but maybe I could get some attention if I ran for, Alabama state office a couple times. Maybe be a secretary for some national progressive one day, super far down the line. Just things like that I've been thinking about recently, and how
Maybe
to change things and how I want to go about it.
maybe Destiny would help your campaign.
Yeah, maybe he would. Long time viewer. um, went to Georgia that one time. Maybe you could help me out, but yeah, I don't know.
That would be super cool if that actually happens. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, and then you'd have a podcast regular with a seat in the Alabama courthouse or state house.
Everything just goes up from here.
Possibly, hopefully, maybe. If I do well in college, I'm going to school for political science. Gonna learn learn as much as I can in the least amount of time, and maybe I'll do something cool with it.
Yeah, I am including political science in my self-design major with philosophy and English as well. I'm
Oh,
basically
really? That's
setting
awesome.
myself up to write theory, basically.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what I will be doing to make an income. I don't know yet, but
yeah. I mean, you can do a lot of things with a political science degree. I've been reading. It's a super it looks super good. Like to have that understanding. Um, so you could probably do a lot. Um, yeah.
that's an
But
interesting I don't mean to cut you off, but that's an interesting
no, you're good.
subject. Politics for power because like yeah, like that's really what it's about at the end of the day. That's kind
Yeah.
of what it is. Oh shit, did we just lose him? Hello?
Little technical difficulties. I
Are
have
we
no idea what happened.
are we
My internet
back?
my internet didn't drop. It just my Discord just decided it was time to restart. So
All
sorry
right.
about that.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad that fixed itself fast.
yeah, it did. Anyway, so yeah, you were saying politics is for power. That's what it's about.
Yeah, like that's kind of at the end of the day, that's why it annoys me when people say politics is just policy because it's like it's more complicated than that.
Well, yes. Policy. A lot of policy is just about gaining support. um, you know, especially back in the day. As I've been reading in my other book, Why We're Polarized. Um, parties didn't really mean much ideologically. Political parties were all about just like basically making friends in the space. It was a lot more about trust and keeping promises, and if you broke a promise, nobody was ever going to work with you again. It was a lot more about like joining together with your fellow politicians to like pass an agenda rather than it was about having a shared party platform, which was super interesting to read.
What else is in that book?
um, well, right here. It the intro was actually super interesting. It was kind of about saving quote unquote identity politics,
Oh.
and how it's used, how that buzzword identity or buzz phrase identity politics is super duper weaponized.
Yeah.
Like we always talk about we always talk about um how wanting civil rights or gay marriage, all that's identity politics. But when you talk about the 60, 70, 80% of white Protestants who voted for Trump, that's that's not identity politics. That's just so um the point being that it's more used as a bludgeon against civil rights than it is an actual analytical term in the popular space. I think people forget that identity and politics are inextricably linked, um, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, which yeah, the guy that writes it, he's a bit of a lib, but he's pretty good. I like the way he's framing everything about less so systems, or sorry, less so individuals and more broad systems, only using individuals like Donald Trump, Barry Goldwater, Lyndon Johnson as like examples of a system rather than symptoms of a problem, um, which is a type of analysis that I'm really drawn to. Rather than the individualistic approach. I think he's super good and he's doing well so far as far as I've read.
Yeah, it sounds like a good contemporary kind of political analysis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a lot of good history so far. I'm only on chapter 3 out of 10, so take take what I say about it with a grain of salt. I just got it what day is it? Monday? I got it 2 days ago or something, Saturday. So I've been really digging into it and I'm learning so much, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, it was published in 2020. Um, it kind of it kind of opens by shitting on Hillary Clinton's book, that she published after the 2016 election. What happened or
Based.
whatever.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
whole book is
right.
just her blaming it all on anything except for herself. That's like
Yeah, yeah. It it uses it as an interesting jumping off point. It's like he kind of takes it as an opportunity to say like everybody thinks what happened in 2016 is so fucking strange when this is a trend. This kind of polarization is a trend that we've seen from elections back even to 2000, 2004, 2008. Every election has been kind of fucking crazy, recently. 2016 is just the next logical conclusion of the trend. um so so yeah, it talks about the media feedback loop, with polarization. Like, as issues get more tied to identity and as we conquer more identity based issues, the people become more polarized. And as a result, the media polarizes as well to appeal to as many people as possible. And then the media polarizing, splits the people more. And then we just go into this crazy feedback loop where everything just gets further and further from um, from reason.
hmm. I do find that interesting though because I find this with a lot of like politics writers basically is they always appeal to some kind of like idea of like why can't we just get back to reality, why can't we just get back to like reasonable discussion, but then I'm kind of left with that thinking like what do you actually mean by that? Because there's not
Mhm.
really any like entirely unbiased picture of the world. It's all there's always you're always somewhere on the
Yeah,
spectrum.
yeah. The most recent chapter was super interesting. It talked about kind of psychological politics and how personality type even can influence whether or not you're, you know, a liberal or a conservative or whatever.
There are
Um,
correlations, yeah, if with
yeah,
different measurements, yeah.
I wish I had, you know, maybe I should go through and bookmark it sometime and we can talk about it more in depth, but it talks about how I can't remember the name for it, but there's like a personality trait called openness
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And And if you're more of an open person, you know, you're probably more likely to be a liberal, and you're also probably more likely to go to a diverse city, which plays into our super big urban rural divide right now, where progressive politics not only do they appeal to people that live in cities, but liberal politics appeal to people who want to live in big cities. Um, so it's kind of an interesting, irreconcilable difference, like innate difference in people as far as politics and where they want to live and stuff. It's super interesting. Like I don't know how you would ever fix that.
Well,
like,
I think
like
there's
what do you do?
overlapping material factors here, to be honest. Like, I think those people are probably, it's a mixture between they're probably socially more like um progressive, for lack of a better word, just in general, but also
Mhm.
probably economically better off than most people in the rural areas. So it's that kind of
Um,
thing where it's like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about psychology to super speak on that, but the way Ezra Klein, the way Ezra Klein was talking about it, made it seem a lot more of an innate factor. But I'm sure there are things that go into it. Like I'm sure if we had to bring things kind of back around, if we taught more soft sciences like psychology and social science and stuff in school, we would probably have a lot more open people, um, to put it
yeah,
that way. So,
if I take
so
any of those like personality tests that use that 5 factor model, which is I think what
Mhm.
has openness
Yeah,
in
that's
it,
what I'm referring to. Yeah,
I'm like 99% openness. Like I'm very much
yeah,
like that. And like very
yeah,
low conscientiousness, which I think is the conservative trait. Those are
yeah.
like the
Yeah, there we go.
responsible, orderly kind of people.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah,
open
exactly.
people are more like it's more creativity and also more like just interest in different things basically.
yeah, but I don't know that conscientiousness or desire for tradition is necessarily like a bad thing. I think society probably needs a balance of different types of people. No.
Well, I'm not really even sure. Like, I always, as a sort of somebody who's into Deleuze and Guattari, it's kind of like weird to think of people as innate categories. Because part of their whole point in their philosophy is like, that's not really how it works. Everything is always
Yeah.
fluctuating into these territories, basically. Whereas the real action is like the thing itself before it gets assimilated into a labelable kind of group. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I don't think any of this is set in stone. Like I kind of don't think anything is. So I would
Yeah.
hesitate to call it like an innate, unchangeable thing and like place it all upon the psychological traits because that is a liberal tendency in the like
Yeah. Yeah.
derogatory
True.
sense to sort of
Hmm.
ignore social factors and
Hmm.
as far as like how people actually
Well,
become the way they are in the first place.
uh, I don't know if that's true. I think that's more maybe just an American individualist thing. I don't think it's necessarily a liberal thing. Um, which I guess American individualism could be described as liberal, but
It could
I think
also be
it falls.
described as conservative in some ways. Like,
Yeah, so I don't know if it's necessarily a liberal thing, but I do think I do agree that it's an American thing, um, to kind of reduce everything down. And in a lot of ways, it's probably just a human thing to try to make everything super simple, in that way, and try to find the quickest path to understanding, without really going too into the weeds with it.
well, it's just like I don't even think it's just limited to America because this is part of what Mark Fisher would talk about, and he was from like
I've
England
heard that name, yeah.
with like there's a lack of a political understanding of mental health itself, where basically
Yeah.
we're told that reality is just something that you have to adjust to. But at the
Hmm.
same time, we're given the message that we can become whatever we
Change
want.
anything or yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're stuck in this trap where everything bad that happens to you is somehow your own fault on that level. Like that's the kind of
Mhm.
perspective that they're coming at it from because they don't
Yeah.
look at it in a critical structural way of like, "Oh, wait, the conditions that people are under have literally changed over time." So like obviously these people who are dealing with this new technology that's like bombarding their nervous systems and their brain with all these messages and stuff like that and the social
Mhm.
media milieu. I wrote a paper about how social media affects mental health negatively. It's like
Mhm.
all these factors are causing that. It's not just neurochemistry. You can't just reduce
Yeah.
it to like psychological categorical kind of analysis, I don't think, because I think
Yeah.
that's just a trap in so many ways because you're ignoring so much action that's happening.
Yeah. I agree completely. Mm.
But I kind of just went off. I don't want to hog the mic even though it's
Oh
mine.
no, I'm the same way. God, like every night at dinner, or maybe not every night, but oftentimes I'll just find myself talking like forever, and then after the fact, I'm like, holy shit, I just hijacked that whole conversation. So yeah, I understand completely. I just get super passionate, and then I go off on a thing.
Is your
So yeah.
family like cool with like your political views and stuff? Like is that
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
good.
well, actually,
Oh shit.
well, okay. My two little sisters, or all three of my sisters, are super either liberal or Kelsey is a communist. Um, but yeah, my little sisters are libs. You know, the Gen Z TikTok thing where you just kind of become that. And then my mom, as much as she doesn't like to admit it, she's a liberal. Like, she's super disaffected with the political system, though. I think we've talked about that. And
Yeah.
then Eric is, or my stepdad rather, is super diehard Trump conservative.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's an interesting dynamic. But he's, well, maybe not super diehard Trump per se, but like he's very conservative. But he's woke on the vaccine stuff, which is super good. He's getting that done.
Thank God.
Yeah, right. So he he's just kind of in the Fox News thing a little bit too much.
Hmm.
He's pretty opinionated. But yeah, they're cool with me being a lib or or whatever you'd call it.
Wait, would you
Um
describe yourself as a liberal at this point?
I mean I mean I think for all intents and purposes, like in my day to day, I speak kind of as a like as a progressive liberal, regardless of what's going on inside my head. So they probably see me as a lib or for at most like a sock dim. Um, list of any further. I've been kind of wavering. I've been a little lighter on more of the down the line stuff and the theoretical.
Yeah.
Just which is I'm sure you understand from talking to me. It's just kind of not my bag. I'm more how can we change the system now? How can we read about, current American politics? How can I be electorally viable? All that kind of stuff. So I just don't really talk about the more theoretical. But yeah.
Well, I guess that's good because you don't. I don't know if I don't know if I want to say that it's good immediately, but like I feel like I have an emotional attachment to communism. Like, you know what I
Yeah, I don't
mean?
know.
Like
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
very
about
like
that.
I'm an extremist in every way. Like everything, I just go all the way in whatever direction I think is like correct or like
Yeah.
best suiting me. So it's very like I don't know. I'm just very wrapped up in that kind of radical politics lens of it.
Yeah, I think I'm becoming a lot less inclined towards that as things go on. Um, I've just not really been super concerned about how radical things are or whatever. I've just been more like, how much can I learn right now? How much can I affect the world positively? That kind of thing. So
Yeah, not really having like a cemented kind of position on the far left, right? Like,
yeah. Just more of a cemented position on what we need to do now, um, to make things better. I'm just that's just how I take politics.